And we are live. Welcome to JWC Livestream. This is JWC Story Autopsy with Ricky and Tom. Joe's Writers Club. We do live streams. It's what's been going on lately. And it's been a blast. We thank everyone who's watching. Your views really matter. We're getting more and more stuff's climbing, and it's great. We have a great community at JWC. We're trying to reach out to everybody through this so that, people will come check us out. We have some new people showing up on Tuesdays for our classic club meeting, Tuesdays Eastern time. Sign up at joesriders.club. And then you guys can come and experience our workshopping where everybody reads, and we have these inspirational critiques where we talk about this and that, and we ask questions, and it's a perfect atmosphere for any creative, let alone a creative obsessor like me. So come check that out and go to joesridersclub.com and go to our YouTube, JWC's YouTube. Like and subscribe, please. We would appreciate it. Now, enough of that. Let's check in. I'm Ricky. That's the Ricky and Tom part. And Tom.
Hey, Tom. Hey, how is everybody?
Right on. And that's Tom Tiernan, and he's the co-host. And then we have Amber Danson, who is our honored author guest that we have. Are you there, Amber?
Yep. Hey, everybody.
Hi. Yeah, right on. So we are all creative writers. We're creative obsessors. We think about writing all the time. We're writing every chance we get. We wish we could write more. Almost all of us, even if we're at 2,000 words a day, we still wish we could write more. That's how it rolls. So the key behind that is, if you're like us, come join us, because it's been a blast. And speaking of which, creatively speaking, I've been just tying up loose ends with some novels. I have Master Off Volume 3 that there's this tricky part that I have to knock the kinks out. And today, a major bit of that got done today. So I'm really thrilled. And the Nidhogg Chronicles came back, and I'm so stoked. There's only one little continuity thing that's got to get smidged into place, and otherwise everything was cool. And I'm trying to get to writing. I miss chapters, man. How about you guys? Where have you been? Amber, Tom?
Well, I haven't been doing as much writing as I wanted to for Camp NaNoWriMo, but I'm dealing with some sort of weird health issue that makes me sleep something like 16 hours a day for random days. Some days I'll be fine. Some days I just want to sleep all day.
Yeah.
When I'm awake, I'm writing.
I've been there.
Well, absolutely. Well, everybody's got ups and downs. It may be, who knows, summer, who knows what's going on. I've been catching extra Z's lately because in the winter I'm hunky dory. I got pep to my step, but summer drags me down. I'm a big dude. But anyway, so hopefully this week you'll have more time to get to writing.
Right.
So yeah, Tom, how you doing?
Good. I made a major change in my plans for Emily, which I'm going to put the first volume, 55,000 word novel, on Kindle. So I'm right now writing the back of the book blurb, and I'm researching book covers, and so far so good. I saw a couple author videos on agents, and they did say that if you put a book on Kindle that's part of a series, there are a lot of agents that routinely go to Kindle looking for new authors, and just because put something on Kindle does not mean it's going to be there forever. If someone finds something they really like it, they'll say, "Hey, we want the rest of it," or
it's weird. So. It's weird. I'm having this bolt of deja vu. This is exactly my plan. That's why I'm trying to get these Masroth books up super quick. Like Masroth 1 is up. I want to hopefully do Masroth Volume 2 on the 13th of August, you know, and then it's a question of maybe Part 3, like Volume 3 on Halloween. I don't know, but I want to get them all up because what you're saying, I've heard that. That's why you've heard me for years talk about how I'm trying to get my stuff up on, and yeah, Kindle, no doubt. I'm not saying not Kindle. But KDP.
Well, it's the same thing. That's what Kindle is. Kindle. Well, no,
what I'm saying is it gives the opportunity for you to buy a hard copy.
Right.
Because there's nothing wrong with ebooks and Kindle. That's cool. And anybody that has a device potentially can get your product. So it's magnificent. But I'm saying some people dig books. You know, some people want a book, you know, to hold on to. There's just something about it, you know. So anyway, that wasn't. So yeah, Tom, you're working on that stuff, right?
Yep, I have a third. I'm starting to put together a third short story collection. The second short story collection, is it still out there? Oh boy, I'm on the last story, just playing with it and formatting and getting it all together. And I have a book cover with any luck done. So
I can't wait, man. Your shorts are powerful. They're a force of nature.
And then I have the first book of Emily, The Curious Journey of Emily Breck. Fourth book is going to be the Chronicles of John Penkram, Volume 1, which should be interesting.
Yep, I'm all about Penkram, man. All about it. So it sounds like we're all trying to get our stuff in gear, trying to get it out the door. I think that's what it is. Otherwise, we'd be writing more, writing harder, and obviously the usual making money, which is, you know, how are you gonna pay for the books otherwise?
Right.
But yeah, man, I'm totally behind you with that. That's why I'm trying to do Masroth, and you should do that with Emily. You know, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more in a bit. You know,
I'm toying with the idea of every book of Emily is maybe 30 chapters. So if I could break 30, maybe 90 chapters, if I do that, I could do that on Vella. Don't know.
Yeah, but, that too, man. I think this is something we need to explore as far as all these options are concerned, because I feel like I learned too many new things when we talk about this, like publishing options. It's like, maybe I got to go and do more research again. And maybe that's something a future show will have. I don't know. But either way, that's great. So the point is it won't be long before we're all back to chapters. So there's no reason to fret. We're just trying to put stuff out for people to read. So now that we've done our creative unpacking, Amber, do you have anything to read today? And if so, what's it all about?
Well, what I have right now is a 1,200-word short story that's kind of like a first-person little bitty backstory tidbit to Death's Nightmare.
Excellent. So why don't you read that for us? It's always a real treat to have you guys read. It's real great, real moody. So, and I know this is like your baby, you know. I know you love this one. So let's hear it. We're gonna hear Amber Danson read right now, folks. Buckle up.
All right, this is called Forged in Blood. When I thought of the cabin, I mostly remembered the corners, the ones where I crouched in fear of my father. I would stay by the wall as much as I could, never let him get between me and my many hiding places. If I could completely hide myself from his baleful gaze, he would be content to ignore me. Fear lived in my heart every waking moment. If I let him put his hands on me at all, he would beat me, and he was such a large man that he was difficult to escape. As a boy, I learned to be fast, faster than my father's fists, faster than his rage. When I slept, I was locked in my room until I convinced him with my meek behavior that I wouldn't run away again. The bars on the window became my only friends. I kept a record of his transgressions carved in a loose floorboard. The minor vandalism helped to give me a sense of control. I was a skinny kid with my father's dark hair and my mother's blue eyes. As I grew, I began to see my father's face whenever I looked in the mirror. I had known for years that he was a serial killer. How could I not? He took me with him when he was trolling for his next victim. Women were always ready to trust a man with a kid. When I got too old to be a reassuring presence, he left me at the cabin. He had built it for one reason. It was in the back end of nowhere. Nobody could hear the screams but me. With my mother gone, a victim to his rages, it was just the two of us. Before my mother died, she begged me to keep myself safe. Don't let him hurt you, she'd said. I did my best to abide by her wishes, but my father enjoyed hurting people. None knew that what he was capable of better than I. Though he kept his victims in a storm cellar separate from the main cabin, I could still hear them scream. I could hear her crying or begging for her life. I could hear him laughing. He loved their fear, their tears, and their pain. I'm ashamed to admit that I did nothing about it for years. Some may excuse me based on my youth and my sick knowledge that, with the right provocation, he would kill me too without a second thought. He told me so often enough. I spent my days studying. If I was diligent and quiet, I could keep my promise to my mother and keep him from hurting me. The hatred grew with each new victim. I hated myself as well, and worse, I was disgusted with myself. I knew I had to do something, but what could I do against a man so physically powerful when I was still small enough for him to throw me across the room? In my teen years, he finally began to trust me again. He stopped locking me in my room. I could go out on the land as long as I stayed near enough to come quickly when he called me. Those precious hours I stole out of my father's company were the only time when the tightness in my chest would allow me to breathe easy. When he was asleep, I crept into the kitchen and took the chef's knife from the block. I went to his bedroom and watched him sleep, running my finger along the blade over and over, feeling its keen edge. But what if I tried and the first blow wasn't enough to kill him? I had no practice at that sort of thing. I was big for my age, but he was bigger yet. I walked back into the kitchen and watched the silvery reflection of the moonlight on the knife in my hand. The urge gripped me to use it on myself, but I couldn't dishonor my mother's memory that way. She was all I had ever known of love. I shoved the knife back into its slot and went to bed. The nightmares were not kind to me that night. I remember when my fury became stronger than my fear. It was the day my father tried to turn me into a true reflection of himself. He had found not one but two vulnerable girls, twin sisters who had run away from home. He carried one of them into the cellar, bound and gagged. When he slung the second girl over his shoulder, he carried her to the cabin and tossed her onto the couch. I will never forget the fear in her eyes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry. My throat got tight for a second. Rage boiled up when he described what he wanted from me. My body shook. Nausea filled me. He wanted to test if one twin would be aware of the other's pain, and he needed my help. When he left, I paced on trembling legs. After my father disappeared out the back, I knelt beside the poor girl. "I'm sorry," I whispered, and drew the blade across her throat, hard. Since I couldn't free her, I gave her the next best thing, a quick death. The act made me vomit. How could he take pleasure in such a horrific thing? I stared at the blood for a long time. I thought about what I had done, what my father had wanted me to do, and most of all, I thought about what kind of man I wanted to be. I could visualize myself cutting my wrists. Memories of my mother arose to torment me. The horror froze and shattered into crystalline shards of rage, cold, calm, and methodical. I played stupid when he came in and saw the girl. I showed him the blood on my hands and acted excited. He smiled at me, the first genuine smile he had shown me in longer than I could remember, and took me down into his sick cellar so that I could see how things were done. The police picked him up the next morning. He had bloodstains in his trunk. After a few hours in police custody, he confessed to being the serial killer they had been hunting for. He was gone and I was free. Now I stand in the doorway to the cabin and stare at the corners that never need to offer shelter again. I pace through the rooms and there is no need to tiptoe in fear of my father's fists. I have claimed his place as mine, and with that claim I have decided to take a new name. Johnny Winslow is dead. I am Jonathan Matthews.
Wow.
Tasty.
Oh, I mean, delicious. Lightning, electrified. It is really fantastic what you're doing there. The the mood, the drama, and this tension. I mean, you're building up to it, and then when he's standing in the doorway with the kitchen knife, and he's like, "I don't know, can I take him?" He's like,
Yeah.
he's like gauging it up. It's like, could I bring him down? Resourceful, like you're in this headspace, and I mean, it's just fantastic, literally. And so I even the last couple lines were just like a nice right cross, you know, like it very, very balanced. The pacing was great. Come on, man. I mean, so that's the prequel to Death's Nightmare.
That's just a little short story I did as a kind of snippet. There is an actual fully written prequel that does explain Jonathan's entire childhood.
When is that coming out? Because if that's anything like this, that we need to fast track that. That's fantastic.
Right now, my plan is to release the first 3, Death's Nightmare, Death's Gamble, and then Shades of Death, and then release Death's Inception, which is the prequel. I'm going to go Star Wars with it.
It's just, I mean, I read Death's Nightmare as well, and it's fantastic. I'm not de-emphasizing it, but it's like there's something about the headspace of this kid and what you're doing there. It's very, very intriguing because it's almost like you're using it as a vehicle, like a vessel for our own inner child. And that sense of helplessness that comes in that situation. Some of us may be more familiar with this than others, I suppose. Maybe I'm diming myself out here. Point is bravo, man. Please, more like that. Tom, your thoughts, sir. Comments.
So
we need comments.
This kid, as much as he hates what his father does, takes over for his father essentially, right? Becomes another serial killer?
Well, his father is a little indiscriminate. He'll just pick up and kill whoever he can grab. But Jonathan kills criminals.
Oh. All right, that's
and so but Tom makes a pretty interesting inquiry there. Is it this act that gets him jump started into the whole psychopathic serial killer? I understand he's got tastes, and he has a mode of operation, and he has patterns and profiles. That's exactly what he should have. That's common. What Tom's asking is that what started him? Is this like his origin? You know?
Yeah, this is kind of his origin story condensed.
Right. So he would not have had the skills or the outlook if it wasn't for how he lived.
Yeah.
Right?
I decided when I created Jonathan, I wanted to create a serial killer who wasn't just your conventional sociopath. So I created one where all of his sociopathic behavior is learned as a coping mechanism from dealing with his father. And he just unlearns it as the story arc continues because he's not actually a sociopath. He's just seriously messed up in the head from having been raised by one.
Go ahead, Tom, please.
I would say I happen to know I happen to know somebody who was seriously abused mentally by his dad, and he's 50 years old, and he'll never be a whole person or not messed up. So I can see where that's coming from. That your environment plays a huge thing, and he's stuck in the cabin, knowing that every time his dad leaves the house, he's going to come back with someone else to kill. I mean that plays on your head, big time.
Yeah, and you can only imagine where it goes from here. But more of that. Like we need more of that, man. That was really good stuff. Thank you for reading, Amber. And we'll get you that plug later on, because we gotta figure this out. We gotta see when is that going to come out? I want to read that. Maybe you could at least send me the PDF.
Sure.
Yeah, because that's intriguing stuff, man. All right. Sure. So that was really cool. Tom.
Yep.
Thanks again for reading, Amber. Tom, how about you? Do you have anything to read for us today?
Sure, I have. I'm going to do a continuation of the story from a few weeks ago, Prince of the Air. It's a Shirella story. She's in the kingdom of Angrol, and she's been invited by the king to take the prince, the heir, to this secret school of where he will learn to be a king. And when she gets there, while she's there, and the head of the security for the kingdom comes in and sees Shirella and flips out because she is the person that has been killing the kingdom's elite guards one by one. There's a price on her head, and she's been just killing these elite guards one by one that been coming at her. And the king puts two and two together. He goes, "You're the person that did the thing that we have the price on your head." She goes, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, I've already made a deal with you to take the prince there because you come on really good recommendation." He goes, "I guess And she says, "Could you do something for me? Could you call off your elite guards because I don't want to have to kill all of them?" And
it's great.
So the Kalok, who's the head of the security, says, she goes, "You can't do that." She goes, "Just this morning she killed 3 of them just outside the castle." And he says, "Yeah, I made a deal with her, and she's the only one that I could trust to get the prince to this school." So that's where we were picking up.
All right, folks. So what is it? 2 or 3 weeks ago you read this, Tom?
I think it was three Thursdays ago. So I'll do another chunk. This is the second third. It's a big story. So I'll start off with just doing the what do you call it? Another part. So here it says here
Absolutely.
You don't trust me, Shirella? This is the king. Shirella smiled. "I beg your pardon, sire. I'll be honest with you. I owe a number of people money. I'd like to put the money I owe into a separate bag for each party in question. That way, that will make paying them that much easier. Why not count out the coins in front of each person as you get to them? That would be easier, but some of these people are not as trustworthy as yourself. I would be able to pay off everyone if each of them thought that what I'm paying them was the only money I had. Very shrewd of you. Your reputation in the letters of recommendation is not exaggerated. Very well. Take your bags to Vernon, the royal counter and tax collector. I thank you. When do we leave?" "Tomorrow, after tonight's feast." The king rose to leave. "Good. Is the journey far?" "Not far. Rogen will give you all of the maps you need." The king walked away toward his private chambers. Shirella turned to look at Rogen. Rogen smiled. "The journey is more than a stone's throw. You will have little difficulty finding it if you think like a bird at Helak Thaw." "What does that mean?" Rogen opened her mouth to speak. The chamber door opened behind her, and the gray guardsman entered. "General Rogen, Admiral Bennick has arrived. You are requested to meet him at the South Pier at once." Rogen turned and moved to the guard. She paused and looked at Shirella. "You will know what I mean as soon enough. Be off to the feast now." With that, she left. It was the first night of the Feast of Two Moons. Much revelry had ensued far into the night. Shirella had stayed long enough to have a good meal and make peace with Kalak. The meal was easier to deal with than the man. He remained stone sober during the feast until both moons had eclipsed and the feast had begun to wind down. She had chosen her seat to be next to him for their repast. "I must take my leave of you," said Kalak as he stood. Shirella stood. "Thank you for sitting with me and allowing me to state my view of the events of the past few months. I regret sending all of those troops after you, Shirella. It still angers me to have lost all of those soldiers needlessly, but I was caught up in the need to best you. It was quite a challenge. Shall we call the entire matter a draw? In the interest of putting it to rest," she said, "a draw it is." Kalak bowed slightly to her. "May we meet under better circumstances the next time we meet." "I wish that as well." It was the second day of the Feast of Two Moons. The next afternoon, Shirella climbed into Gelt's saddle with reluctance. Gelt shook his head back and forth several times, but gave no other protest as she rode into the courtyard to await the prince. There was no sign that the prince was ready to go anywhere, much less to school. Shirella found that she had more time than usual to get ready. Nervous, she rode out to the front gate of the castle. Her armor, saddle, and boots had been expertly cleaned by the king's armorer. This gift was part of the discussion she had had with the king early on. She hadn't thought it necessary, but seeing her armor shine made her grateful. Even the linens and tiny pillows of Lim's box were washed and folded. "I love the smell of lavender," said Lim as he sat on her shoulder and picked his toes with a gold toothpick. "Where did you get that?" she asked. "The king's bedroom. He has a whole box of them, all wrapped in these nice little paper envelopes. See?" He held one up as she turned to look. "Very nice," she said. "Yeah, I thought so too." Lim smiled at the paper bag and then ate it. She shook her head. "Where will you put your toothpick now?" "Under my pillow, with the others." "How many did you steal?" "Steal? They're only toothpicks." "Solid gold toothpicks." "Oh, yeah, heh. I only have 4 of them." "I'm sure he won't miss 4. She looked when to the right and saw Kalak riding toward her. "Back in your box. I still don't like him." "Shh, get." Kalak didn't smile as he rode up and stopped next to her. He looked both ways before looking at her. I'm to give this to you in person," he began. As promised, he held out a small scroll. Taking it, she smiled. "My map." "Yes, the map." Kalak looked around, his eyes scanning everything. "Something wrong?" she asked, her hand straying to her sword. "Nothing alarming," said Kalak. "I'm concerned that no one else is allowed to accompany the prince besides yourself. If it bothers you, ask the king if you could come with me." Kalak smiled for the first time. "He hasn't told you, has he?" Shirella caught the edge in his voice. "Is there a problem?" A short chuckle caught her off guard. "The king goes through all this preparation and doesn't tell you the truth of the matter." Shirella caught the concern in his eyes. "Tell me. I'll not repeat it or tell a soul." Kalak looked around once more. "The school that Prince Erto is to attend is a place that only the king has been to, and that was the single time as a youth, where he learned to be the king, how to be the king. Yes, no one is allowed to go to the school except for the heir to be and his guardian. The guardian cannot be a citizen of Angrol. That's unusual. Every king of Angrol has made the journey to Katik, the son of the School of the Sun. It is not a dangerous journey, but it's only the 2 of you making it. From your tone, I take it others have made the attempt." Kalak nodded. "A number of times." "What happened?" Shirella grew more curious than concerned. The travelers did not make it very far. As soon as they entered the mountains, they were driven off by various creatures, small birds, insects, and even a small nasty dragon. "I see. What happens to the guardian once they reach the school?" Kalak's smile grew wide. "Have no fear, Shirella. A safe passage will be made for you in whichever direction you'd like to travel. It would be best if you take it. I'm to be kicked out of the kingdom? Just for this purpose. You'll be allowed back in time." He looked over at the supplies. 4 horses for just his food. That would feed 4 people for 2 weeks. He paused to massage his temples with his fingertips. Too much amber malt, she said. A bit, he smiled again. Maybe I'm just trying to rub out any memory of the prince from my head. He's not going to be long, gone too long. 2 years goes by quick. Don't remind me. Kalok looked at the parapets. Don't let the prince make any demand of you, he said. You have the permission by decree of the king to say and do anything to get him to the school. He looked over at the waddling royal person coming toward them. Just don't kill him. However, you might be tempted to do so. Can I presume from your tone that we are allies now? She asked. They turned their heads at the noises coming from inside the castle. The prince was finally on the ground floor. I'll be frank. The 9 men of yours you killed will hurt for a time. It will take years to replace them. We may not have that much time. What do you mean? There are rumblings of war on the other side of the Great Wall. The Kyloran tapestry speaks of a time when both sides of the wall will fight one last war against each other. That war will start in the west. Is it possible that this war is still off many years off? Kalok's eyebrows raised and he nodded. Do you know of the tapestry? I do, or at least I know of pieces of it. It's unfortunate that you are leaving so soon, he said. There's quite an argument that could be made as to whether the tapestry is complete somewhere or if there's more than we have at the palace. I wish I knew. I've seen 2 separate pieces in 2 separate kingdoms. 2 different kingdoms. What did they say? I didn't have a chance to read either one. I was, busy at the time I saw them. Perhaps one day we will both find out. I have to go. General Kalok held out his hand, and Shirella shook it. Great luck to you. By the time they left the castle, Shirella was ready to kill the prince. Over an hour dragged by as the king and his son argued over the number of pack horses he was allowed to bring to the school. At the end, Erto had a single horse with him, laden with food. Shirella felt sorry for the beast as it struggled to walk. The road was flat and straight for the first day. A quick stop for a midday meal took hours as the prince prepared his meal. Shirella ate and sat back against a tree and watched. Her food needs were simple and provided all the nutrition she needed to travel. I told you we would run out of food, said the prince, grease pooling in the dimples of his chin. They had been traveling for less than a week, and Erto had eaten the supplies that would have kept 3 people well fed for 2 weeks. Really? asked Shirella. She shook her head and finished cleaning the kalo fish from the nearby river. She had laid the fillets on the pan sitting on the fire, where they sizzled with great satisfaction to her ears. Yes, panted Erto, I am nearly out of bacon. We are nearly at the school. I'll be skin and bones by then. It will be good for you to lose a few pant sizes. My father could have you killed for saying that. I doubt that. In fact, I can count on that not happening. You are not even a citizen of Angrol. I could have you squashed like a bug. Shirella laughed and began to eat her fish. You're not supposed to laugh at me. The prince's face turned several colors of red. He giggled to the point of laughing. Shirella merely smiled and held up a small scroll. What's that? Asked the prince when he got his breathing under control. His eyes quivered in the fear that perhaps she had orders to kill him if he were uncooperative. Fear ruled his life, especially since they had left the safety of the castle. He had jumped at every sound and shadow the first week. This is a notation signed by King Persil, your father, stating that I have full authority to get you to this school by any means necessary, short of killing or disabling you. Give me that. Erdo took the rolled-up scroll, tore it in half, and threw it into the fire. There, he smiled. Shirella grinned. Good thing I have the real scroll tucked away just in case you tried anything like that. You witch. Nice try, she said as she washed and wiped her plate and put it away in her saddlebag. Let's get moving. Daylight's wasting. I haven't finished my breakfast yet. No, but you've eaten 3 other people's breakfasts. You shouldn't speak to me like that. It could get you into lots of trouble. He pouted his lips out. Yes, I can. Holding up a scroll, remember? But... He shrugged and began to clean his area. She threw the dishwater on the fire and covered the ashes with loose rocks and dirt. After the smoke had cleared, she began to pack her things. I am leaving as soon as I am packed. If you're not packed by then, I'm going to tie you to your horse and leave your butt here in the woods. Erdo's face lost all amusement. You're serious. Occasionally, now get ready. The wolf was on her before she could exhale. Shirella swatted at it, and the beast flipped over and scrambled to its feet. As Shirella drew her sword, the wolf turned its head and lunged at the prince. Erdo stood in terror, not able to move. He closed his eyes and waited for the teeth to pierce his throat. Shirella smashed into the wolf just before it was about to hit the prince. Both beast and woman hit the ground hard. Shirella got to her knees. The wolf was shaking its head. "Thank you," said the prince as he helped her up. He looked down at the wolf. "It would have killed me." "And me, don't forget that," she said. "Of course, I am indebted to you. What can I do to help?" "Help me pack up the horses and make sure the fire is out." Erto swallowed hard and did as he was told. They were soon on their way, but at a faster pace than the previous day. The prince rode in silence for the rest of the day. As the sun approached the horizon, Shirella took out her map. "We are nearly there, your highness," she said. "Are you sure? We've been traveling for about a week. From this rise I can see the stone circle in the distance. The same circle is on my map. It's a half a day's ride from the school." So we'll leave it there.
Fantastic, man.
I'd love writing about Shirella.
Well, yeah, and I mean, she's such a powerhouse character for you. And Varema, the world of Varema is just—it's so very natural the way that you disclose that fantasy world to us. But she's just—I'll tell you, she's fantastic, man. I mean, just dealing with this brat prince, putting him in his place, telling him what's up, and outwitting him, and the nature, again, the reinforced nature of the fact that she's so respected. And you're not telling us she's respected, you're showing us this dude who she killed a bunch of his men. Now, he could be real bitter about that, like forever, if he wanted to be, if he was prideful and whatever. But he has it in him where he's like, well, I don't have any more, pardon me, I don't have any more men to waste trying to kill her because war's brewing. But furthermore, there's this respect when they shake hands and how they're talking to each other. There's a clear peership there, where he sounds to me like he's a salty dog, like he's a dude who's seen a few things. So it's like the way they're talking to each other, it brings such gravity to her. And it's like the writers of strong female characters of today could really take some well-needed notes from you, because it's like she didn't have to be flipping around like Ninja Gaiden to acquire that. It's her deeds, and it's the way this guy is conveying his respect. I mean, that's a fantastic device, man. Really. And the wolf. Go ahead.
He knows that just General Kalok knows that it would be practically impossible to kill her. So he's kind of given that up that idea, and the king said, that's done. We're not that contract to kill her is over with. So he's got enough respect for the king and for Shirella to say, okay, we'll bury the hatchet here, because she could possibly be an ally, a very valuable ally in the future.
Yeah. I mean, that gives you his headspace, and that's another reason for the respect, the reinforced respect, because she's an asset. He can't lose her. Amber, what did you think of that, man? I mean, I love his Shirella stories, but I mean,
well, I really enjoyed her attitude towards the spoiled brat, where she's telling him what for. I made me giggle to myself a couple times with him just.
Yeah, she loves being sassy with royalty. I mean, that's one of her things. She's got respect for loyalty, but she treats a king the same way she would treat the guy who sweeps out her house. Everybody's equal. Yeah, people are people, and I'll respect everybody if you deserve respect from her. Basically,
right on.
You know, and that war that they talk about, by the way, in that war is coming. That's what my epic is about. The war. So.
Mm.
Oh.
Okay. So
Something happened here.
yeah, I don't know.
Go ahead.
There's some change in the sound I noticed. So Amber, what else? What else did you think about that? We don't want to cut you off. You know.
Well, it's hard to get a feel for it when I'm getting bits every
Pieces.
week and I'm reading so much in between, to be honest. But what little got read today, I remembered a little bit from last week, and
Whoops.
I like her attitude. I like her character. It's just a little hard to it's a little hard to follow the story when you're reading a whole story at a time.
No, I
can
get
send
you.
it to you if you like.
That's why I use short stories. Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to read it. It sounds good.
Yeah, it's a real treat, Amber. You would dig it. I read a lot of his Shirilla stories. So that's fantastic, Tom. Thank you for that read. It was really cool as always, and we'll try to. We got to have it where it's not 2 or 3 weeks in between. Like maybe next week we'll have to make sure that you finish it. You know.
Yeah.
Because Amber has
done.
a point there.
Another chunk, and we'll be good.
Okay, great. So those were fantastic reads, and we would also encourage you go to the YouTube page for JWC, Joe's Writers Club's YouTube page, and go back and listen to the past reads, and like and subscribe, and check out the other read that Tom did for that Shirilla story, so that next week you can get all caught up. You know, it's all real tasty stuff, as you just heard. So today's topic is going to be advertising in social media. Like last time, we kind of asked some general questions about like your views of social media as an author. But this is more like if you were just selling books, not so much cultivating a personality, but selling your books. How would you go about doing that? Now, the thing that we would say is you could take out ads. This is our little comment. You could take out ads, obviously, if it be Google ads or Facebook ads. But then there's also starting up a Patreon. And then doing special promos through the Patreon that are like for your fans. And I would imagine that between that and putting serial stuff out, like what you're going to do, Tom Villa, those are all things that you could then use and plug on your social media. Like link one to the other. I do JWC. I rely on JWC's community to do my advertising, and it's definitely been working. I mean, if you can join a club like that, I mean, I think ours is pretty cool for that. I've been seeing it work, so that's my thing. I mean, I'm not really that great. I'm still learning. Social media is a big thing to figure out how to use properly. It doesn't occur to everyone, especially me. I'm not savvy with stuff. Yeah, Amber, how about you? I mean, what do you do as far as, do you use social media for any kind of advertising campaigns or?
Well, what I've been doing up until recently is just plugging my book on my own Facebook page, which isn't really netting me a whole huge amount of success because I don't know a whole heaping amount of people. So this weekend I'm trying a Kindle lock screen ad because I'm hoping anyway, my reviews will speak for themselves and get me some sales.
Cool. Very good idea. That's another thing to look at. And keep us in the loop about how that works out. I mean, you know, we plug your book on our live stream too, so you got that going for you as well. So I mean, between all these different factors, I'd like to think that your sales are gonna go up a little bit. I've been dropping links for you, that's for sure. How about you, Tom? What are your views as far as social media advertising campaigns? How do you advertise?
Well, I know on Kindle there's a place called Author Central, and if you sign up for Author Central, you don't automatically get into that. On Author Central, you get every I think it's every 90 days you get 5 days of free promotion that you could use for whatever you want.
Cool.
And it's a very, very, very good resource. And if you're low on money, every 90 days you can really go to town with advertising. And until you start making a little something, it's a very, very good thing to. It will get you notice. And the idea behind the promotion is to try to get more reviews, and reviews drive sales, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And,
yeah.
So I have that. I also I've been looking into Facebook ads. They can be expensive because you have to set up a daily budget, and if you're not ready, or if you're going in the wrong direction, you know, all that money's like throwing it out the window. So
it's true. It's true. You got to do your homework.
I recommend doing your homework on advertising. See how much free advertising I get. Free advertising on, say, I belong to a dozen writers groups on Facebook, and that's good free advertising because every once in a while there are groups that say, okay, it's drop your link Friday, and says everybody here
list, yeah.
drop your link here, and it'll get a view, and that's hard to beat for free.
Yeah, it really is. We gotta start doing that on our stuff, man. We gotta figure out how to get that jump started, because those writers lists are really cool. I do a lot of those on Twitter, or I did anyway. I was doing it. And a lot of times they can help you out in ways that you wouldn't even realize too. That type of networking is almost invaluable. So that's fantastic. So just do your homework with social media advertising campaigns, and figure out, you heard all those different ways that we're trying to approach it. And if you have any comments like that, drop it on our YouTube chat, and give us some advice, inform us, because it's a big topic. We're always trying to learn, always trying to improve process, and now, all good things, folks. These shows blink by. We have so much fun with these reads and hanging out with Tom and Amber. This is just really great. So now it's plug time before we say bye-bye. So Amber Danson, why don't you tell us, what are you plugging, and where is it? Where can we find it?
Well, right now I've got Death's Nightmare just sitting here. Kindle's still running a sale on it. And if you want it, I'm still having issues with the paperback version. I don't know why they're giving me issues. I was going to check on that after the live stream. But I mean, one thing to remember about Death's Nightmare is that this isn't a modern day story. It's a little bit of nostalgia. This is set in 1983.
Period piece. It's tasty though, folks. Go out and find it. Death's Nightmare, Amber Danson, Amazon.com. You go to your app. So Tom, what's going on with you? What are you plugging? What's it called, and where can we find it?
It's Kindle book. It's Dwellers in the Shadows. It's available on ebook, paperback, and hardcover. I'd say fairly reasonable price. It's a collection of short stories, and computer willing, I'll have a second collection up by the end of the week, called Is It Still Out There? So it'll be on probably on the same page as my Dwellers in the Shadows. It'll also be available on joeswriters.club. We have a merchandise page, so you'll be able to find it there. And so far, so good.
Very good. Go check that out, joeswritersclub.com, and sign up at joeswriters.club. That's how you can get a hold of us and join our forums. I am Richard Andrew Olkus. They call me Ricky. My author name is Richard Andrew Olkus. This is Babbletron, After the Fire. Amazon.com. Check it out. It's a cyberpunk book. It's a novella. Nice dystopian cyborgs, and it's a real hoot. Give it a look. Babbletron, After the Fire, Amazon.com. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in, everyone. We really appreciate it. We have fun making this show, and it's a big help. And we're hoping we can get more people to join JWC because we have such a great community. And, our Tuesday meetings are fantastic. Come check them out. And thanks a lot, Tom and Amber, for your reads and for doing the show. And we'll see you guys soon, okay?
Beautiful.
Take care, everyone.
Have a
Later.
good week, everybody. Weekend.